Hello and welcome to Banking Transformed. I'm your host, Jim Marous, owner and CEO of the Digital Banking Report and co-publisher of the Financial Brand. Financial institutions have struggled to engage consumers with budgeting and financial health tools. Bank of America's approach has been to address financial wellness by building an omnichannel platform that allows consumers to set goals, track progress, and get answers to financial questions quickly and easily. These efforts have resulted in Bank of America being the first financial institution in the country to be certified by J.D. Power for their financial health support. Our guest on the Banking Transformed podcast today is Holly O'Neill, President of Retail Banking at Bank of America. She discusses how a holistic framework for supporting the financial health of clients includes simple, transparent products, high levels of personalization, financial education, and access to human support. The J.D. Power Financial Health Support Certification Program was developed in collaboration with the Financial Health Network, and it focuses on measuring and understanding customer experiences through the lens of financial health. Bank of America was the first financial institution to receive this award for their outstanding levels of customer satisfaction and their emphasis on financial health and their offerings. So welcome to the show, Holly. Before we start, could you provide our listeners with a short background on your career at Bank of America?
Sure. And thanks for having me, Jim. So I have been at the bank my whole career, 25 years. And I've been lucky enough to spend time in many businesses across the company, in our global banking and markets business, in our global wealth business, and now I lead our retail banking business. So I've worked with companies, with high net worth individuals, and now with our retail clients, the mass market segment. And it's certainly been an interesting run over the past 25 years. Lots of challenges, lots of variation in what I've done. But I have to say this current role is my favorite because of the scale and the people that we're able to help, essentially, across the mass market segment.
Yeah, so congratulations on the recognition from J.D. Power. You know, I've been in this industry for a long time, I guess I could say. And many financial institutions talk about supporting the financial wellness of their customers, but very few actually walk the walk. What sets Bank of America's programs apart from your peers, and what have you done recently that's really made an impact?
Sure. Well, thank you for that. And we're thrilled to get the recognition from J.D. Power. We've been working with them on the certification on financial health. And really what I think sets us apart from the others is a few things. Number one, we've been on the journey for over a decade, really with clients' financial health front and center. And then we surround our clients with a few things. Number one, essential solutions, easy, transparent, low-cost financial solutions that give them what they need. And some examples there are Safe Balance Account, our secured card, Balance Assist, which is a low-cost, short-term borrowing option. So we've been on that journey to simplify our solutions, make them transparent, easy, and low-cost. So that's one. Two is financial education. So partnering with our clients, we think it's very important to provide them access to information and education. And we do that through Better Money Habits, which we launched in 2013. It's a free platform to help clients across all life stages. And it gives them good information and easy. They're easy reads. So that's two. And then three, we've been working on our own processes and policies behind the scenes. I think you've probably seen the announcements that we've made in terms of what we're doing on overdraft. And we've been at that for over a decade, right? Listening to clients, listening and working with advocates to really put the right framework in place. So when we made this final announcement back in January, this is one of the final steps in our journey. We'll have brought down overdraft fees by 97% over a decade, which, it's a journey. And it was, interesting working with clients and hearing what they want, because it wasn't as simple as just eliminating overdraft. We came up with a safe balance account, which works with clients so that they don't overdraft. And some clients want access to overdraft. They want that to go through. So it was a balancing act as we went through this to, provide solutions to a wide variety of clients and what they wanted. So it really came down to, Jim, easy, transparent solutions, financial education, and then, work we've done on our own policies and process.
It's interesting. I had Jennifer Tester on the show a couple weeks ago.
Oh.
I've had other organizations on talking about financial wellness. And honestly, as a legacy banker from way back, the whole idea of financial wellness and doing what's right for the customer, we talked about it a lot. And it was a good feel good. But the reality is we've made the consumer do most of the work.
Right.
And in many cases, providing budgeting tools and financial education content is great, but it really requires a commitment from the consumer in many cases to find it and to use it. And that's not easy. How does Bank of America collaborate with the consumer to go beyond just tools and content to really making it so that it becomes an ingrained habit? Because the reality is, from my perspective, now more than ever, this is a differentiator and an engagement tool if implemented correctly, as opposed to making the consumer do all the heavy lifting.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's something we work on. I mean, number one, Jennifer is a partner of ours and one of the stakeholders that we've been working with, along this journey. So she's provided a lot of value to us. So we ingrain it in a whole host of ways. One, we try to get all of our channels surrounded with it, right? So when I talked about better money habits, our financial centers, our call centers, they all have access to that so they can share it with clients. If they're having a conversation, about something, it can be a follow-up item, right? So we really try to do it in multi-channel. So as we work with clients, we look at it in our digital space with our people, call centers, financial centers. So we really try to surround everyone with the concept of financial health, and with all the tools that we have. We actually launched, we have a tool called Life Plan, which helps clients set their goals. It's in our mobile app. Our financial center specialists are trained in it so that no matter where a client is, if they've started a life plan, they can talk to a specialist about it, an RM or a relationship manager or relationship banker in our financial centers. So we really try to integrate the experience with the tools that we have, the specialists that we have. Digital gives us such a great ability to scale. We have 66 million clients, so you've got to use that to scale. And then, that enables us to get everything to our clients, and then we support it with our specialists and our teams.
It's interesting. We wrote about it, the financial brand. We wrote about the Life Plan project in the platform. And it's interesting because it really is an integrated platform, and it doesn't involve a lot of work from the consumer to get that whole process started. And as you mentioned, you're getting some scale here, aren't you? How big is that? How big is that group of consumers that are currently using Life Plan is, right? How is it big as it now?
Right. Great question. So Life Plan, we have 5 million clients who have used it. We only launched it in 2020. So it really is gaining a lot of momentum. In just a year or so, especially during COVID, that's great adoption for a digital tool. And I expect that will go up exponentially. It's a great tool. It's simple. It's easy. We can support it with our specialists. So that is foundational to what we're doing.
Now, something like that, and you mentioned that digital makes it easier, but it's also digital makes some things harder. How do you support that? How do you market it so consumers can actually find what's available? Because obviously there's a lot of challenges now coming out of COVID around financially vulnerable people, but even people that are not financially vulnerable that have to really rethink their financial wellness. How do you market the services and the projects you have, everything from the way you market the reduction of overdraft fees to life plans?
Yeah. So, number one, digital is foundational to what we do, and we really found during COVID it accelerated, right? Because people did not want to be in person in financial centers. So COVID was an accelerant for digital adoption. And, we really try to make that digital experience. My partner, Dave Tyree, who runs digital across the company, our mobile app and our online tool are second to none, right? And one of the ways that we try to make that experience easy is Erica. So we have a digital assistant on the mobile app. And, the best thing to do there, if somebody's having a hard time in the mobile app finding something, just to ask Erica, right? So that is an assistant to help navigate the mobile tool from one perspective. So we try to do a whole host of things. So Erica's right there on the mobile app. All of our teams in the call centers and financial centers are trained in digital. So if somebody has a question, they can also use those tools and those specialists to help them figure it out. But I do think it's really easy to use. But we know that not everyone, is at the same level in digital. So the whole system and all of our channels really do support it.
Bank of America has a huge head start when it comes to voice banking with Erica. How is that channel being used from a financial wellness perspective? How do you see that all melding together as in one way? I know it makes simplicity of banking better, but what other ways are you using Erica to actually push forward the whole idea, the whole concept, the whole platform of financial wellness?
Right. Well, you can certainly ask Erica about tools and solutions that we have. So Erica can be an education mechanism, in addition to the fact that Erica can tee up better money habits. So, we're really driving Erica to be very predictive and giving clients the information that we think is relevant to them. And I think that is a really important next step for us is, we have a lot of data on clients, and we're on the path to really giving them a very personal experience. If we think they're vulnerable, we'll tee up better money habits or some section of better money habits that we think would be relevant for them. We can do that through Erica or the mobile app, right? Email can be challenging because you get so many emails, so you really have to catch the attention of the client. So, we're really trying different ways, Erica included, in order to do that. So, that's, since I've been in this role for 6 months, that's probably top 3 on the list of what we've been working on in terms of really understanding where our clients are and pivoting so that we can present the information that is relevant to their personal position.
Well, it's interesting because consumer behavior has changed so much since the pandemic and even before that. But the use of voice becoming integrated in everything, from the way I look at my TV and my entertainment to the way I do text messages now instead of typing them in. But, most importantly, I think what's interesting is that I often talk about the GPS of financial services, that a good GPS system uses voice to tell you where to go, how to avoid the pitfalls, how to get to your destination better. And that's really what Erica has been positioned to do, hasn't it? That you're, as you said, you're trying not to anymore give them the rear view mirror, having Erica tell you, by the way, yesterday you had an overdraft, to instead having Erica tell you, by the way, you may want to deposit some funds based on your previous behavior so that you can avoid overdrafts in the future, correct?
That's it. That's exactly right. So Erica is positioned that way. And I would also say Life Plan is positioned that way, right? So if a client uses Life Plan and sets their goals, all of that will be integrated and come together. We'll have that much more information about a client so that we can tee up, the ideas, the information, the next best step that they really want to go for. So, that is the whole concept, and that's the strategy with Erica, because that gives us scale. Right. And
there's so many aspects of financial wellness, but obviously every consumer is different. I reference a lot of times what happened when you saw that people took a decision to forego their mortgage payments for a few months. Well, half those people maybe needed to forego their mortgage payments so they could actually put food on the table. While there's a whole nother segment that may have foregone the mortgage payment, realizing there was no financial negative to that, and they could build up their savings accounts. How does Bank of America leverage data, analytics, and digital technology to build a more personalized financial solution for their consumers at scale?
We use the data and analytics to understand where our clients are, what they're doing, how their patterns have changed, in order to build that into solutions, how we interact with them, what we do in digital. So that data and analytics on clients feeds into almost everything that we do, because that provides insight as to where they are. And, through the pandemic, we certainly had been watching clients, their account balances, how they were doing. And, it's really interesting because coming through the pandemic, you mentioned it, their savings accounts did grow pretty significantly and at all levels of the wealth continuum. We saw growth in accounts for the mass market client grow even more than those in the higher net worth segment. So it was very interesting to watch. And, we use that data to really understand the patterns of clients and what we need to do in every category. Solution development, digital, how we interact with them in financial centers and call centers.
So you really try to present an omnichannel experience, obviously, for your customers. How does Bank of America balance both the high touch and the high tech aspect in order to provide better customer care, but even more importantly, better financial wellness support?
Right. Well, high tech, high touch, both are really important. So high tech, online, mobile, that gives us scale and real-time ability to interact with our clients, right? So, as we talked, it allows us to give them real-time alerts, right? Your balance is low. Was this your payment? So there is a whole suite, hundreds of alerts that clients can set up so that they know real time, right? So that's really important to financial health. And clients who are living paycheck to paycheck, day to day, week to week, can use those alerts to better position themselves, right? So a lot different than when I was living paycheck to paycheck, coming out of school, you had to balance your checking account and you had to, call to see your balance. And that's just not reality today, right? You pick up your phone, you know exactly where you are, right? So that's the high tech piece. The high touch piece really are teams that can support a client if they have questions, more complex needs, or really want to walk through something as simple as how to set up an alert, right? So if they want that capability in high tech, our teams in the financial centers, we have over 4,000 of them across the country, and our client service teams on the phone are all set up to assist the client with that or more complex needs. And so they each have their role, and then really important that they're integrated. So we know exactly, what somebody's been doing in mobile, so we can anticipate what they might need. So we've done a lot of work in that category over the last several years, using that data in digital so that, as an example, if somebody calls in and we've had a suspicious transaction, we know that they've had a suspicious transaction, and we can ask them the questions immediately to make sure that it was in fact their transaction. And so really marrying the two is where that integrated experience comes in.
So I mentioned that financial wellness is not just a feel good, it's a good way to do business, but it's also a way to increase profitability and revenues. But one thing we referenced was the fact that when the government assistance checks came in, savings accounts increased significantly.
Yeah.
But in the last 2 years, we've also seen tremendous amounts of, I'll call it disintermediation of funds and attention to alternative financial providers, the fintechs and the big techs. Yeah. And Bank of America is certainly not, certainly isn't being avoided in this situation. We're all losing customers in a traditional sense. I know Bank of America from working with them in the past, how much you track almost everything every one of your customers do. Is this financial wellness focus really important from the perspective of getting some of these customers back that have tested fintechs and big tech firms that had really specialized solutions that really you're trying to address now yourselves?
Yes. I mean, we look at that data a lot, right? As any company does. We have a healthy view of what our clients are doing with these smaller competitors. You're right, like they're very niche competitors. They do very specific things. That's where I think Bank of America has an edge, right? Is we can wrap the whole client with financial wellness in all categories, whether it's their daily operating account, lending, setting goals, setting plans. So it all comes together in one picture. And that's where I think we're really differentiated. We have not lost a material amount of clients to the fintechs. Certainly I would call it people are testing them. But we haven't seen a big exodus, because I think that wrapper of financial wellness around our entire client is incredibly important. It's a long-term relationship. It's a long-term view. When you're setting your goals, setting your path, you partner with a financial institution that will be that long-term partner and see you through every life stage, right? And that's our goal. And I think, that's the long game here. And we're going to, we'll stick with that. And, to your point around business and profitability, partnering with clients and setting them on a long-term path, that will, in the long run, enable long-term profitability, because we'll stay with the client for a long period of time. And that's the whole goal, right? We have to prove ourselves every step of the way. But it's the long game, right? With these clients, and being prepared to partner with them as their profile changes, no matter how it changes. So, that's really the strategy. It's pretty simple.
So let's take a short break here and recognize the sponsors of the podcast. From super apps and crypto to embedded finance and financial inclusion, we're a long way away from the world of cash and checks. That's why FIS has created the Global Payments Report. The Global Payments Report makes it easy to understand what your consumers want now and will want in the future. FIS experts talk through the trends transforming payments and what they mean for your business. They give you an in-depth view of how consumers pay when shopping online and at the point of sale in 40 different markets, along with the latest insights into real-time payments and what's going on in Europe and across the world. Discover how the latest payment technology could affect your business. Get your report today by visiting fisglobal.com/GPR. FIS, advancing the way the world pays, banks, and invests. So welcome back. I'm joined today by Holly O'Neill, President of the Retail Banking Unit of Bank of America. We have been discussing the importance of financial wellness and the potential to build differentiation and higher customer engagement in banking with omnichannel platforms. So Holly, Bank of America is the behemoth of legacy banking organizations. And as a result, you have the most legacy back office. What are you doing internally to make the back office as digitally proficient as what may be the outward view of what the bank looks like? Because we know if you don't fix the back office and make that more automated and more streamlined, it's really hard to make the engagement process that way. So what are you working on right now to make the back office faster and better?
Yeah, sure. First of all, it's been an enormous focus of ours for several years, right? So knowing that we have to simplify the process for clients, and that includes the back office. So number one, organizationally, I am connected at the hip with our head of operations, Tom Scrivener. And, we really look at our process end to end. So if we're redesigning a process, I'll talk about our mortgage process for a minute. It really is an end-to-end process, all the way from sending that mortgage application in to getting your approval and then ultimately closing the loan, right? So that goes from front office all the way to back office. And that's how we look at the experience. So organizationally, we're aligned. Two is, it's been a mindset shift for our teams, right? Challenging the status quo.
Yeah.
It's not okay to have all these handoffs because that increases the time for the client to get something done. So we've spent a lot of time on mindset shifting of our teams designing these processes. It's not okay to send it through, 10 steps when you can look at it with 2 steps. And then finally, I'm going to come back to digital. On a lot of these processes, we're trying to close gaps and make it digital end to end. So that's the mindset. So for example, you go in to get a mortgage. Not only should you put your mortgage application in, you should provide all the documentation, you should get your approval, and then you should get the money, all in digital. That should be the goal because that's what's easy for the client. It's not easy to start somewhere and then have to talk to a specialist and then, kind of shift channel. So that back office integration and streamlining the journey, the experience for the client is really where we're focused. End-to-end digital mindset. That being said, and this is another differentiator for us with the fintechs, is all along that journey in digital, no matter what it is, whether you're opening an account or you're, getting a mortgage or an auto loan, we've got the specialist support underneath, right? So if you do have a question, if your situation is more complex, if something's not working the way you think it should, we have that specialist support all along the way on that journey. And that's a differentiator from fintechs. We have tens of thousands of people who are there to support our clients no matter what. Digital makes it easy, but knowing that you have that specialist support sitting right next to you, I think is really critical.
You've gone through this very long journey of making the customer experience better at Bank of America. And you've gotten recognition for being the top of the game when it comes to the financial wellness part of the equation. From your perspective, what is being overlooked by the industry in general as we try to serve the needs of financial consumers better? Maybe not a problem as much at Bank of America, or maybe it is. What is being overlooked by the industry in general that we're just not doing it as well as we should?
Well, I think it's some of what we've talked about here, Jim. It's connecting all of our data and information and customizing that for every unique individual client. And that is the holy grail, right? If you're a client, that is where you really deliver for an individual, is they know that we have their back and we're giving them in a very easy way the information, the next step, whatever it is in digital. And, you also have the human support. So, I think that is where the industry should be going. And, within that is financial wellness, right? So it's implied, but I'm going to say it explicitly. Within that is financial wellness, because as you understand the stage and where the client is, you should be providing them that support to put them on a path to better financial wellness, whether it's education, a different solution that may be better for them, or just talking to them about their personal status and giving them the advice that they need. So, that personalization is all wrapped in financial wellness for me. So just to say it explicitly.
It's interesting. We had an interview with Chase probably around 2 months ago. And I asked the same question. It was interesting because they said the same thing. they said, why you think that the big financial institutions have all these people continually working on the personalization, the
Yeah.
wrapping together data analytics and
Yeah.
personalization together. We still are working so hard to try to do better because we're not there yet. And they
Yeah.
admitted that. They said, you know what? And so, for those organizations that are listening that are smaller than the big five, I think it's important to realize that, while we've all done fairly well using data analytics to prevent fraud, to look at risk, and to even make our organizations more efficient, we have a long way to go before the consumer feels that we know them, understand them, and look out for them, which is a big deal. And on the top burner for almost every financial institution, even a bank as financially stable and big as Bank of America. So I'm going to do a little bit of a pivot here.
Okay.
You have a very important role at a very large financial institution. You also have an extremely important role at home. Can you share some of the challenges you face as a woman business leader during the pandemic and how maybe these challenges may have changed your perspective of wellness?
Sure. So that's a real good question. The challenges being a woman in business, I think it's balance. Prioritization is really important. Breaking stereotypes is also important. I've been extremely lucky in my career here to work with some pretty phenomenal people. I think to spread that would be really great because I feel like I've been, personally, I've been provided the challenges, but the biggest challenge is balance and priority. I think for women who have families at home or other responsibilities, having a good partner there is really important too.
Or multiple partners. In some cases, you need a lot of people to help make that whole thing work together.
The it takes a village, is to put it mildly, right? At certain times, because certainly I felt as my kids have gotten older, it all comes down at once. You've got priorities at work, something drops at home, and you just have to really quickly pivot and put your priorities in place and move forward. During the pandemic, I think, I really did take a look at wellness, mental wellness, doing stuff for yourself so that you can then, perform at work and at home. And that, for me personally, is a constant battle and a constant reminder, because that's the first thing that goes. But really important that you keep trying to pull it back into the priority list as you move forward. So, one bit of advice I would give to folks is, it's a long game. Keep your priorities straight. And sometimes the balance is not going to be there in one direction or the other, but just bring it back as you can, right? Because at times things shift and pivot if you have something at home or at work. And you can't look at it in a silo in 1 week, because you have to string it out over a longer period of time.
Yeah, we're certainly in an uncharted territory when it comes to people that still have to work from home as opposed to working in a physical structure. And you mentioned mental health. And how do financial institutions, or how can Bank of America do a better job connecting the dots between a person's physical health, their mental health, and their financial health? Because those all, as you mentioned, they all work together. If any one of those three, the three-legged stool, if any one of those legs isn't strong, it brings down the other two as well.
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. And I think, financial health will be the lead for us, with our clients. And, internally with our employees, mental health and employee support through the pandemic has been, I would say, really important focus, right up there, 1, 2, and 3 for the company through the pandemic, is supporting associates as they work at home, supporting their mental health. Bank of America does a tremendous job providing that support to our teams, and as we continue to pivot back into the office, which, we're presently doing, supporting clients in that transition, right? I'm happy to report that in Boston, the traffic is back to pre-pandemic levels. So that was one thing I did not miss. But, the energy and people are getting back into the office. And I do think that is a contributor to mental health, is interacting with others. So, from a Bank of America perspective, it is top on our list of priorities for our employees, and we'll continue to work on the financial wellness, financial health for our clients, which, as you think of it, Jim, financial health does contribute to mental health and how people are doing, right?
That's for sure.
If you feel like you've set the right goals and you have a plan and you know where you are, that's got to contribute to a better position personally.
So a little future view here. Do you see the integration of physical health and financial health, or banking and insurance, or banking and healthcare possibly merging? We have these monitors on our wrists that tell us every day how we're doing health-wise.
Yeah.
Do you see a potential in the future where data from one can help data from the other, and maybe there can be almost a gamification of better health? Because obviously, the longer a consumer lives, or the better a consumer lives, the better customer they're going to be from a financial institution basis. But in the same sense, it lowers insurance rates and everything else. These are all somewhat integrated. Do you see a greater integration of the consumer's overall life as relates to financial institutions?
I do. And, it's one of the components of life plan and the life priorities that we've set, because it all does come together, right? So if you look in our life plan tool and the life priorities we set, health is one of them, because it all plays a role together. So my answer to your question is yes, absolutely. We've done some of this with Life Plan and really thinking about those major components in somebody's life that are important to them, health being one of them. So I do think that will continue. It will expand. It will grow, because that's how consumers think of it, right? They don't think of like these very individual silos. They think of how it's all going to come together.
So finally, and as we look at the future, I always say, I've been in banking my entire career in one way, on one side of the desk or another, writing about it. While it's the most challenging time ever, it's the most exciting time ever. What excites you about the future, and what do you see as the greatest opportunity in the near future? Because we can't talk long term anymore in financial services and even at Bank of America.
I'm most excited about what we can do for our 66 million clients, partnering with them on the road to financial health. We've never been better positioned to do it. We've already started down that journey, but I think technology and data is an accelerant to getting that done. Yeah. So that's what I'm most excited about, because you're really providing, you're going beyond the simple transaction, depositing the money, transferring the money. You're really becoming a part of a client's life, right? And setting them on the right path from a financial health perspective. That is what excites me. I think, and it should be across the industry. That is the direction we should be going. How do these tools and all this technology enable us to do that for our clients, right? And so that's what gets me up every morning, and it's really exciting.
Holly, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate your participation. I am going to be calling you back in the future because, I think the banking industry is changing so quickly that touching base with people and saying, okay, so how's the last year gone? Because, we don't know what's coming in the future any more than we knew what was going to happen in the past. And what's interesting is there's so much opportunity, and it's always great to talk to a leader who's so excited about the future. So I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jim.
Thanks. Thanks for listening to Banking Transformed, rated a top 5 banking podcast as winner of 3 international awards for podcast excellence. If you enjoy what we're doing, please take 30 to 45 seconds to show some love in the form of a review. It helps us to continue to get guests like today. Finally, be sure to catch my recent articles in the Financial Brand and the research we're doing for the Digital Banking Report. This has been a production of Evergreen Podcast. A special thank you to our producer, Leah Longbraid, audio engineer Sean Earl Hoffman, and video producer Will Pritz. I'm your host, Jim Marous. Until next time, remember, financial wellness can be the ultimate differentiator in a very crowded marketplace.